Now that Clay's here. I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you would, follow with the pledge and invocation from Chief Houston. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, as we humbly approach your throne, we just ask that you be with us as we go throughout this night. Guide us and direct us. Father, we thank you for your grace and mercy. Your grace is sufficient, Father, but your mercy continues to flow towards us. And I just pray, Father, that as we go through this meeting, that you help us to see those around us through your eyes, Father, and most importantly, that we remain centered in your will as we make decisions. We love you and we praise you, for it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chief. Madam Clerk, we get a roll call, please?
Harkness.
Here.
Lucas. Cooper.
Here.
Milton.
Yep.
Denham.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
Williams.
Present.
Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. So this is the public comment section of the meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments, speakers tonight?
Yes, sir. We have 3 signed up this evening.
Thank you. So the public comment section is not for items listed on the regular agenda. At this time, the board will hear the eligible speakers who have personally signed up to speak. Please refrain from directing any questions to board members and limit comments to matters within the board's jurisdiction or authority to take action on. Please note, the clerk will announce when 30 seconds are left, and there will be a sound played when time is up. We ask that comments are wrapped up upon hearing the 30-second notification. If an eligible speaker would like a board member to bring an item to the consent agenda down for additional discussion, please note this request during comments. If comments are about a specific agenda item, the eligible speaker will be asked to hold comments until the item is then called later in the meeting. Please come to the freestanding podium to address the board. Madam Clerk, who's the first speaker?
Our first speaker is Judy Isaacson, speaking on thank you.
Board and members of the Aldermen have come to thank.
Hold on a second, is that mic on?
Okay, thank you. I've come to thank Greg, Alex Gerard. He has done an absolute job, outstanding.
This
It's
is
a
our
shame
Alex. This
it
is
is-
our Alex Gerard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have gone through almost 6 people to get what I had to do done. The first one was a year. The other one was 6 months. The other one that I had was 4 weeks. And then that's when I came and you gave me Alex. He has done an outstanding job, and he has got the job done. And we're waiting for the final part. I don't understand why you go to another alderman, which is not your ward person, to try to get help and they don't reply. It looks like they could all work together and help. Because I have a rhino for an alderman. He doesn't care about our area. Because if he did, he would have done something. And he would have double-checked with the people that are on that ward. But he doesn't. And he says, oh, thanks for voting for me. I walked out and I said, I didn't vote for you. No way. You can't get a job done out of him. He doesn't do anything. And as far as our asphalt at this time, they probably should put curbs down Sunshine, because since they put the asphalt on there, between your ground and the asphalt, there is like maybe 2 inches there. When it rains, that dirt is going to go down the hill. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think that they should probably try to put curbs in that area since they've done all this digging and everything, because, you know, the rock is going to be shifting and it's going to be moving to a different way. And I had one of the city guys come down and look at it, and he agreed with me on that. He said it probably should have been done. So that is all that I have to say, and I really want him to be honored because he deserves it.
Did you get that, Alex? Where is he? Oh, Alex, back there. Let's give him a round of applause.
Yeah, Alex. Woo.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Gary Groman, speaking on We Are Branson.
Hello, Gary.
Hi. As I sat in the study session and I listened to Clay talk about his Veterans Village idea, and I listened to some of the discussion, some of the reasons, and some of the delay. We are Branson. If not in Branson, where? We can come up with all sorts of reasons why. There's not, I don't care, Houston, Chicago, there's not another city that has the heart of Branson for its veterans. We have one of the finest veterans clinic, and I'm speaking from experience because they give me my medical care. We have one of the finest veterans clinics around right here in Branson. If you need something they can't do, example, this beautiful face of mine had to get cancer surgery a few weeks ago. You don't go to the VA hospital. So what I would suggest is let's make that a priority and ask. I mean, we've all been told no before, but if we don't ask, and that's the same thing about 165, if we don't ask, we don't stand a chance of getting it. I'll be in the urn before it gets done, but by golly, Clay, don't give up on it, and if not Branson, where?
Thank you very much, Gary. You got that? Madam Clerk?
Our final speaker is Cherry Webster, speaking on Alderman Power Continued.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and
Cherry.
Board. My name is Cherry Webster. I live in Branson, Ward 3. I continue with the topic I began April 14th when a developer's voting block was established at the swearing in of 2 new aldermen, Harkness and Williams. Certain actions postulated at that time materialized shortly thereafter, making it fair to call it the Cushman block, as Alderman Schultz assisted Alderman Harkness in fulfilling her first campaign promise: terminate without cause the city attorney. I presented additional facts during public comments June 9, July 14, and 28, and August 11. What is the advantage to the city to have fired the city attorney? I see none. What is the advantage to Alderman Harkness's campaign manager and litigant with the city that the city attorney be terminated? How about control over the appeal of her handler's $30 million award? How do you think our new interim city attorney is going to perform, given Alderman Schultz's expressed desire to listen to Cushman's settlement offer against appellate attorney advice? Will Attorney Condro be allowed to demonstrate how smart and competent he is? Or will Alderman Schultz expect him to say, "Sir, yes, sir, how high, sir, do you want me to jump through this settlement hoop?" so the Cushman block can give Cushman money to develop his 300 acres with an indoor sports facility. While the Cushman Quartet is formulating their next strategy on that front, let's anticipate dastardly deed number 2. Whose head is next on your chopping block? Kathy Stepp? Why is her position in jeopardy? As city administrator, Kathy Stepp oversees City Hall and all the employees. She chooses the department directors. Well, maybe more on that aspect as we get to agenda item 12 tonight. If Alderman Harkness, if her constituents, her campaign manager, and his 17 developer cohorts that bought her seat don't like the standards she sets for her departments, the developer's block can just wield their power and replace her. What would be the advantage to the city to replace Administrator Stepp? I not only see no advantage, I see an egregious disservice to this community. Kathy Stepp didn't come to us by the formal recruitment process the city implemented in 2022. And that was absolutely fine because the candidates weren't that impressive. But miracles, God orchestrates miracles from out of the blue. 3 aldermen and the mayor were smart enough to recognize that she was a godsend to Branson. One of her first tasks had to be quite uncomfortable. A human resources investigation was necessary. The police chief and a detective were placed on administrative leave. Both later resigned. She gracefully handled the situation, as it also boosted morale within the police department. Kathy has a gift to solve problems. She resolved the persistent division and strife between the city and the chamber. She proactively asked her directors what they want to see fulfilled from their want lists. Ask Cindy Shook how the Recplex fields were finally turfed. Ask Michael Woods how it finally became permissible to incorporate the hundreds of long-sought changes to the city's design criteria and standards for public improvements. Every director could cite multiple examples of her solutions. Under Stepp's helm, the delayed downtown Phase 4 project was completed. She oversaw the White House Theater remodeled into an ever-so-grand police station. Warm-hearted Kathy Stepp understands people and the value of accolades. She's protective of her crew and nourishes their careers. Her people skills should be the envy of everyone sitting on the dais and in this room. Equally important, Kathy Stepp has had great vision for the city. Unfortunately, the developer's block has now created quite a toxic environment, pushing her into a constant defensive position. Kathy Stepp is Branson's beloved godsend. She is our shining star, and she is anointed to run City Hall.
30 seconds.
Let me declare here and now, Alderman Harkness, tell your handler and litigant, Kathy Stepp is off limits. Alderman Schultz, touch not our godsend. Do this city no more harm. Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing public comment.
So next is the consent agenda. Are there any items that any member of the board or staff would like to have moved down from the consent agenda to ask additional questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like item number 4 to be removed from the consent agenda and placed at the first item on the regular agenda.
Any others? Madam Clerk, would you please read the items on the consent agenda as amended?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the July 28th, 2026 study session and July 28th, 2026 regular meeting. Acknowledgement of disbursements for July 9th, 2026 through August 5th, 2026. Final reading of Bill Number 6698, an ordinance amending Section 94-137 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to election-related signage by establishing regulations for the display, placement, maintenance, and enforcement of political, campaign, and ballot issue signs and providing for other matters properly relating thereto. Final reading of Bill Number 6705, an ordinance approving the contract with Brycer LP, Brycer Advisory Group LP for the fire compliance software and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. And final reading of Bill Number 6706, an ordinance approving an agreement with Pearson Kelly Office Products LLC for site security upgrades and 10-year licenses and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
Do I have a motion approving the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call vote, please?
Harkness?
Yes.
Lucas?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Scholes?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6702, an ordinance establishing the annual levy of property tax for general revenue in the city of Branson, Missouri, a city of the 4th class.
You've heard the final reading of Bill 6702. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Allison.
So the final property tax levy came in at 0.6035, and that's what you see here before you tonight, from what was originally published for the public hearing. Are there any questions?
What was the number previously reported?
I think, I don't have that exact number in front of me that it was before it was amended. Give me 1 second.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got it, 0.6185. Okay, is there any questions from the board? All right, any questions from the audience? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second on the amendment.
Mr. Mayor, we just have a motion second to put it on the floor. We have not received a motion second for the amendment at this time.
And with that, Mayor, I move to amend Bill number 6702, Section 2, levy amount from .6185 to .6035.
Second.
Got ahead of myself. We have a motion and a second. Are there any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Members of the audience? Hearing none, then let's vote on the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Allison. Are there any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this bill as amended? Anybody in the audience? Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call vote for this bill as amended?
Harkness?
Yes.
Lucas?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is a resolution of the City of Branson, Missouri accepting a proposal for underwriting in connection with the proposed delivery of tax increment and special district revenue bonds for the Branson Meadows project and acknowledging certain matters pursuant to MSRB rules.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Sarah.
And we are, Sarah is attending virtually, and we are pulling her up right now.
Thank you.
Sir, if you can hear me, you are being promoted to panelist. If you could accept that, then you'll be able to present. Thank you. Can you hear us okay?
I can. Are you all ready for me to present now?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. We are on, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear anything before I just joined. So just to make sure we are on the engagement letter item.
Yes, yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay, great. So good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen, Sarah Granath with Gilmore and Bell. I am here to introduce the item that is from Stiefel, Nicholas and Company. They've provided an engagement letter to be underwriter for a series of TIF tax increment finance bonds for the Branson Meadows project. The developer for the project has selected Stiefel as their desired underwriter for this bond process. However, the bonds would be issued by the city. The city has an active role in this as the issuer. And so the city is the entity that would need to enter into an engagement letter with Stiefel to serve as underwriter. A few key aspects about this. The item before you tonight only approves the engagement. It does not approve any bond issuance or terms of bonds. That will all come back before you at a later date for approval on those terms. Likewise, this engagement letter is non-binding. It can be terminated at any time by the city if this engagement is no longer desired. So I will stop there. I'm happy to answer any questions on the engagement letter.
Thank you, Sarah. Any members of the board have any questions for Sarah? Anybody in the audience? Hearing none. I guess we're going to vote to accept the engagement letter. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Sarah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6707, an ordinance of the City of Branson, Missouri approving a plan for an industrial development project for the Bryan Properties Hotel Project.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6707. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. We get a staff report from Sarah. Look who's back.
I am back, and I could hear that introduction this time. Good evening again. So this item is for a Chapter 100 or Industrial Revenue Bond plan for the Bryan Properties Hotel Project. This is within the Branson Meadows TIF. And so with that, this specific Chapter 100 is only proposing to provide sales tax exemption on construction materials for the construction of the hotel. The plan was mailed to affected taxing districts, and then tonight is the taxing district hearing and consideration of the plan. In your documents, you will see that the project is proposed to be approximately 107 guest rooms on a little less than 3 acres of land with an indoor pool, fitness room, pantry, and outdoor patio, along with other amenities and parking and infrastructure. The hotel will be a Hilton Home to Suites hotel. And as I mentioned, this is only for sales tax exemption on construction materials. So much like the Chapter 100 projects the city has approved in the past, the city would, under this plan, take title to the property. However, that title would only be held during the construction portion of the project. As soon as the certificate of occupancy is delivered and finalized, the property would be transferred back to the developer, and it would go back on the property tax rolls and pay full property taxes as with any other property. The portion before you tonight is just approving the plan and cost benefit analysis. We would come back at a later date to approve specific bond documents, which is more of the implementation phase. But this is really the true approval phase of the project. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. And I believe that the developer or representative of the developer is also online, connected to the Zoom if there are any specific questions on the project.
Thank you, Sarah. Does the board have any questions for Sarah or the developer? Hearing none, is anybody in the audience? Hearing none, then let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6707 for its final reading due to timing.
Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. Are any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this matter? Madam Clerk, are there any eligible speakers who signed up to speak regarding this matter?
No, sir.
Are there any eligible speakers in the audience wishing to speak to this matter? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. So, Madam Clerk, would you now provide an introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6707, an ordinance of the City of Branson, Missouri approving a plan for an industrial development project for the Bryan Properties Hotel Project.
You have heard the final reading of Bill 6707. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this matter? Madam Clerk, are there any eligible speakers who signed up to speak regarding this matter?
No, sir.
Are there any eligible speakers in the audience wishing to speak to this matter? So this is the final read, And so, Madam Clerk, would you now provide a roll call vote, please?
Harkness,
Yes.
Lucas.
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Denham,
Yes.
Scholes,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is an update from City Administration and Finance Department on current budget progress, trends, and top-line summary.
We'll begin with an introduction by Allison.
Or this a few feet. Good evening. We're going to go back a few slides. Maybe not. There we go. So, an update of the 2027 budget process. So if we want to go back to June, in June, we finalized the 2026 forecast with departments, and we recorded our 2027 operating budget request into Tyler. Each department records their request into Tyler for what their hopes and wishes are, and then as the finance director, we go through and we try to fund all of those requests, but we ask them what they are going to need, contractual commodities-wise, personnel-wise, and everything for 2027, and we start that process in June. Moving on to July, we received the 7-year capital request from departments, and we compiled all of those into one big spreadsheet and made sure that department requests coincided with one another. So if we had a utilities project, then Public Works knew about that project, and then that we were doing them on the same timeline. So we spoke with those departments and got everything in the same years and planned out our capital projects for the next 7 years. That was happening in July. With that too, we did preliminary funding for the tourism count, and the 7-year capital plan for tourism was done in July. So we were able to fund all of the tourism capital projects by bonding, and in that we have a preliminary plan with a sports facility and without a sports facility, and we finished that funding in July. Also in July, we got full-time equivalent personnel requests from departments and made sure that we had all of the requests that they expected to have for 2027's budget, whether they had new personnel or wanted to stop funding positions or anything if they had any that they couldn't fill. And then we did our personnel budget assumptions in July. And then for August so far, we've had our levy hearing, and then we are continuing to review our 7-year capital plan for all funds that are not tourism or utilities, because those are funded, and look at our small capital requests from our departments funded from the general fund and our public safety fund to fund those over the next 7 years. And so that will be happening in August, and then that's what's happened so far, and then we'll continue to do those things. And then moving forward, we'll finalize funding for capital projects and review everything with departments. We'll finalize personnel COLA and merit assumptions, and we will review the balanced budget with departments once it's complete and we have personnel assumptions completely in there for merit and COLA. And then our current assumptions that we're applying to our budget, we have a 2% growth in revenue over 2025 actuals. We're seeing a 3.5% on our commodities lines, and that's not all commodities lines. That's just for any commodities like utilities that they buy chemicals from year to year and different things. So you won't see that 3.5% growth on every commodity line, but you will see it on the commodities that we expect to increase in 2027. And then all other expenditure lines are budgeted flat for the 2027 budget so far. Do you have any? And then Kathy.
Thank you, Allison. Go back a little bit slower on our budget assumptions on projected revenues and why we decided to base it on 2025 actuals.
Yeah, so we've seen our current taxes come in low or stagnant, and so we want to be conservative going into the 2027 budget. We don't want to expect more revenue than we're going to receive, and we don't want to overshoot that number and then not get a balanced budget. So we have decided to do a 2% growth over 2025 actuals because we expect to meet that goal in 2027 for our 2027 budget assumption, and we have not based those on a projection over what we expect to get in 2026 or even over 2026's budgeted amount. We have done those on 2025 actuals to get a conservative revenue number.
Any members of the board have any questions for Allison? Kathy?
One more thing, Allison, could you just remind the board, and I hope you have this with you, I should have told you ahead of time. So if you don't have it, that's okay, I'll just send it to them again. But the timeline now for budget meetings with the board and how we added the extra day of time in there for conversations about the 7-year capital plan.
Yes, and I don't have the actual sheet in front of me right now to bring up, but we have added those dates, and I'll get that to you right after this. I'll send that out to all of you board members. Now going forward, it's just a matter of dwindling it down, getting all of our numbers set, and then really funding that capital plan. Like I said, we've went over personnel. We funded everything that needs to be funded, and so now it's time for the fun stuff in the capital plan review. And we have added that date, so I'll send that schedule back to you guys.
Any questions? Ruth?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Allison, for your professional reports all the time and being so responsible with the city's finances.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none. Allison, we do truly appreciate all you do.
I appreciate all that you guys do, so thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6708, an ordinance amending 90-131 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to standards for building sewers.
For the first reading of Bill 6708, do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Kendall. Hello,
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. The purpose of this amendment is to remove the requirement for duplex pumps in commercial applications when sewer pump or grinder pump systems are necessary to convey wastewater to the public sewer system. Removing this requirement from the city code will allow pump system design to be governed by the adopted International Plumbing Code and applicable engineering standards. The approach provides greater flexibility for commercial developments and with lower wastewater flow demands, where a duplex pump station system may not be necessary. The amendment is intended to reduce unnecessary construction costs while continuing to ensure that wastewater systems are designed in accordance with the recognized industrial standards and applicable code requirements. Staff recommends approval.
Any questions, comments from the board? Glenn?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for bringing this up. I think anything we can do along these lines that, make it easier for our builders without sacrificing issues for the city is good activity. We should keep doing it. Thanks.
Yep, one thing at a time.
Hey, Mayor, is it a significant amount of cost reduction for the developers?
So typically for these lower flow type applications, it's around $5,000 to $7,500 we could save them.
Which adds up?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Any other alderman? I'm sorry, Alex.
Hey, thank you again, Kendall, for your professionalism. It's greatly appreciated, and this is just a direct result of taking the time to listen to, let's say, the Branson Chamber and pass that legislative priorities list. You just hit multiple areas on that list all in one fell swoop with a measurable outcome for folks. So thank you again for providing a deliverable. It's not a baseless resolution. It's already gotten results.
Thank you.
Anybody from the audience wishing to speak? Hearing none, Kendall? I also want to thank you very much. Between you and Kathy and all the elements it took to make this change, this is a very welcome change, and I really hope we get to see many more of these as time moves on.
We'll keep looking for them.
Thank you. So we're going to vote on this. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Kendall.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6709, an ordinance adopting an Americans with Disabilities Act ADA transition plan specifically for municipal buildings open to the public and public parks facilities for the city of Branson.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6709. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Michael Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Kathy and Alex took a moment to listen to a crazy idea that we had. We knew we had to take care of an ADA transition plan. We had an ADA coordinator, Mr. Powell, that works on related to the other Powell that was just up there and Star. And so what we did is we went through and did a self-evaluation of our buildings and the ADA compliance that we had, and they filled out a checklist, and we went to CBDG and said, hey, what does this look like? What are some examples and records, request them, and successfully saved the city roughly $500,000 in the study. It's a pretty thorough study that they did and made recommendations that kind of set us up for the future of what ADA accommodations have we already achieved and some of the things that we need to do. What we're asking for today is a double read on this item. This helps close out the Elevate project. This was one of the things that was required of the city. And also the Compton project was required to do an ADA study based on our municipal buildings that people with disabilities from the public could come into at some point. And so we highly recommend that we move forward, and we're thankful for the idea or the willingness to listen to different ideas and even CBDG and other funds that are there. So super appreciative.
Thank you, Michael. Are any members of the board have questions for Michael? Ruth?
I just have a,
I'm sorry.
okay, thank you. I'm pleased but not surprised because ever since Kathy's been on board, the whole change with all the directors being able to, there's no such thing as, you know, working within the box. Everybody has felt comfortable enough to.
And instead of saying, well, we'd like to do this, but we can't afford it, or coming up with a number of reasons not to do it, you said, we're going to do this in-house and we're going to get around the barrier and accomplish the objective. So thank you again for outside the box thinking. It'll translate into other opportunities with grant funding, but then also not forgetting that anytime we can increase our ADA compliance as a tourism destination, that's a big deal. And so thank you for just not saying, well, I'd like to, but you know, I can't do it. You said, how do we get to yes? And you've got a result here, so thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the board for making sure that Corey Powell has a job as an ADA coordinator and also a construction inspector and also help remodel buildings. So, yeah, they don't get much time to sit and idle, so super thankful.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Any questions, comments from the audience?
Beth Schultz, Branson. I apologize in advance. I did not know about this item on the agenda, so I did not research it. My question would be, usually when you hear about ADA, it's the physical aspect, but being very involved with the deaf and hearing impaired community, I'm asking, is this also covering sign language interpretation for the deaf and hearing impaired?
On the building, so we did City Hall, Recplex, Community Center, Police Department, and the Public Works building. It was related to your building and how your building performs. Not necessarily did it go to the audible level. We do take that in consideration for our crosswalks, where you get those things incorporated in. Although there's different camps that say, I don't want to hear a crosswalk every time there's a crosswalk, but that's part of it. And so we'll continue to move forward. This is a general outline of making it better than it was yesterday, and we'll continue to look at those things.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Any other members of the board, any comments? So we're going to vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Michael.
What? Did I hear you say you're requesting a double read?
Oh,
I am. Chief Schmidt's not here tonight, so I'm just going to take his spot. And I am asking for a double read, and I apologize. It was in our staff report, and I didn't make that apparent that we need to take care of that. So.
Okay. Mayor, I move to read bill number 6709 for its final reading due to timing.
Chief Schmidt, you snooze, you lose.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Bill, we're just going to, we have a motion and a second to have a second read.
Correct, yes.
So we're going to vote to have a second read. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Now, Hillary, would you please provide this introduction for the final read?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6709, an ordinance adopting an Americans with Disabilities Act ADA transition plan specifically for municipal buildings open to the public and public parks facilities for the city of Branson.
You've heard the first reading, you've heard the final reading of Bill 6709. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And final read, we'll get Madam Clerk, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Harkness?
Yes.
Lucas? Cooper?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Scholes?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Thank you, Michael.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6710, an ordinance amending Section 2-136 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to officers and employees.
For the first reading of Bill 6710, do I have a motion approving this bill?
So move.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a staff report from Alderman Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Purpose of this is for a couple reasons. First, help better align the city with state statute as a fourth-class city and who the board has purview over with employment status. And so when you read the code currently, it leaves the requirement for the city administrator to bring all department head hires to the Board of Aldermen. The intent here is to strike that requirement, and that should be, I don't know if they have a red line version prepared, I can read it if not. But the intent here is to remove that requirement, and the reason for that, throughout 3 other areas in city code, that relationship between the board and the officers that we do have purview over or should only have purview over, the city administrator, the city clerk, and the city attorney all stand as separate sections of code. And then above that, I believe that if we have a person in the role of managing the employees, that if they can't exercise good discretion to select a department head, then we have a bigger problem. So that stricken portion that says, however, when it is necessary to fill director's vacancies, the city administrator shall submit the names of individuals that he recommends for employment in such positions to the mayor and board for approval or disapproval. So the intent is to remove the stricken language.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I chose to co-sponsor this with Alderman Williams for all the reasons that he stated, but another huge factor is I feel it's really irresponsible to try to micromanage different departments when we have a city administrator, especially one that's doing a great job. And so it is her responsibility to make sure that our city is running smoothly, and ours is to not micromanage the employees.
Clay?
Yeah, and I fully support this. I had a conversation with Alex a couple of weeks ago about it, I believe it was. But yeah, we have Kathy here for a reason, and I have full faith that she's going to make the right decisions. So I don't think that we need to micromanage every single hire. So thank you, Alderman Williams, for putting that on.
Any other questions? Glenn?
Yeah, I'm going to be the contrarian. I like this provision in the code. It's not all employees. I don't know why we're adopting that terminology. It's only the directors, of which there's, what, Kathy, is it 8 directors level? Something like that anyhow, close to 8. Yeah. So and these don't change often. And from my perspective, these are very, very key hires in terms of how the city performs, how we do in managing our budgets. And I don't think it's so much to second guess the city administrator as much as to support the actions. It's a simple act in the hiring process to bring it up to the Board of Aldermen in an executive session, get a chance to review the resume, ask questions, and let it move forward. So I'd like to see it stay.
Any other aldermen?
I have one question. Does anybody know how long this ordinance has been in as one of our ordinances that we have not been following? Like, does anybody know how long we haven't been following this?
I don't know, but it's never been implemented in anyone's memories that's been here over 20 years. No city administrator has followed this line of code. That doesn't make it okay not to have done it, but it hasn't been used so far. but it's got to be, it sure predates me because it says he.
Alex?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, it's a philosophy. If you look at statute, it kind of lays out that relationship. But then above that, I don't know. I can say in my experience serving on the Board of Aldermen, it's come up twice, and I can say in the 2 times that it's come up, it's been, in my opinion, ineffective. And when I'm in a position to review something with the appropriate amount of time that it takes, going through a hiring committee. You're going to vet these things, and I don't know that I'm in a position to make any more of an informed judgment than the person that's running the process. And for me, if this is something that needs refinement, I'd rather see it as an administrative remedy to the process through communication rather than a legislative forced mechanism through city code. And so, again, that's why I'm sponsoring the bill. There has to be good governance is altitude, trust but verify, but I don't believe this enables us. And honestly, the other areas that we have purview over as the board, it's hiring and termination. This purely just requires us to have the ability to hire them, and then that's where it stops. Because I can't. Why should I be able to hire and remove somebody that by ordinance I'm not allowed to even provide direction to? We're not bringing in directors to provide direction to them. We're working with the city administrator who then goes out and executes functions. So it doesn't make sense to me, which is why I'm in the mindset of this provision of this code needs to go away.
Any other board members?
While I do have full confidence in Kathy, I won't be supporting this. I've had some personal experiences that have left me to question a couple things, and so just based on that, I like the oversight. I like to be looped into the process, the conversation. I'm in a state of learning, and for me, it's very valuable to be included in some of this process. And so for now, I'm actually grateful that it's there. It's unfortunate we haven't known about it and we haven't followed it in however many years, but because it's there, I think it can lend some use. So I'm probably going to be voting no against this.
Okay, any other aldermen? Are there any eligible speakers wishing to speak on this?
We do have an eligible speaker who signed up.
My name is Cherry Webster. I live in Country Bluff Estates in Ward 3. So the question at hand is, should aldermen also have the power to hire department directors? I feel that the developers block on this board has way more than enough power. If for some reason the planning director's position were to become vacant, I would be very concerned with the intention of the developers block, most especially the Cushman block. In fact, I would imagine that the planning department directorship is highly likely to be the next target on your campaign promise list. Not too long ago, the planning department was renamed to Planning and Development. Kathy Stepp rebuilt that department and purposefully placed Director Ross, who has more than demonstrated solid ethics and notable leadership skills. It now functions as the Planning and Good Development Department. This is a significant distinction, and it needs to stay that way. Here's what development versus good development looks like. If Dan Ruda today were to pull the stunts he pulled in 2020 when he began developing fountains on Fall Creek, I would fully expect without hesitation that Director Ross would pick up the phone and call the County Director of Planning and ask, what's going on? We're in the middle of an annexation and city residents are reporting that the 40-acre forest on Ruda's parcel is being leveled with only a 10-acre permit for his 5-acre low-income housing project. She would know that when the county planning director said, well, it's his property, he can do anything he wants with it, all he has to do is update the paperwork, she would know that the paperwork would have been a SWIP, which would have required Ruda to use 2 acres of his land instead of 2 lots in Country Bluff Estates for his stormwater detention. RUTA did not place a single foot of erosion control measures along the 1,000-foot property line adjoining Country Bluff. He even told his contractor to, quote, clear the majority of the property without notifying the engineer in order to not revise the land disturbance documentation, end quote. Without a doubt, Administrator Stepp would also pick up the phone and call our county commissioner asking the same questions. And if we needed legal assistance, we would have been able to rely on Solon McGee on his legal mastery. But the 2020 board, with the exception of Larry Milton, at the time, was backed by developer monies, and the Country Bluff homeowners only saw development, which consisted of the city director of planning telling us, if you didn't want to see the trees removed, you should have bought the property yourself. The developer didn't like the agriculture designation required on the codified annexation procedure, so his attorney circumvented that ordinance and submitted a second annexation called Zoning by Annexation Plan of Intent, which circumvented State Statute 89.070, which requires a public hearing by the Zoning Commission. One Ward 3 alderman asked the city attorney if the developer would sue the city if the bill was not passed. The city attorney responded, yes. Another alderman stated, if we pass this zoning, we would look like snakes in the grass. They did pass it, and they did look like snakes. Larry Milton was the only alderman that refused to circumvent the P&Z public hearing process, hence his promotion to mayor. This past June, after 6 years of developers agreement, after 6 years of developers agreement, Milton started a month after his election to mayor, finally manifested. Despite RUTA's continued refusals to negotiate, Administrator Stepp brought good development to the table when she informed RUTA of the fines the EPA could have leveled against the city for his actions. That good development also included the city finalizing a $1 million county sewer district award for RUTA's site, gifting him a new lift station and 4,250 feet of sewer line.
Excuse me, Jerry.
Mr. Mayor, could I request that we kind of stay on the topic of the bill at hand?
I believe we are. So go ahead, Jerry.
Attorney McGee completed the legal aspects of this developer's agreement in May and June, even at his targeted termination without cause was playing out. Understand this. For the stormwater detention pond and the treed berm designated in that developer's agreement to come to fruition, it will have to be enforced by the Good Development Department. This is not just about RUTA. Your developer constituents, Alderman Harkness, have issues with the Good Development Department. It took 4 months and 4 stop work orders for Stallings to realize he had to have permits to lay concrete foundations for his first 4 tiny homes. Finkenbinder and Darst also experienced stop work orders for their 200-plus unit remodel across from the hospital, which had permits, just not permits for the correct level of construction, and no more inspectors that let issues slide. My concern is that this developer's block is trying to do the same thing the 2020 board did for RUTA, circumvent undesired regulations in order to facilitate developers' projects. So approval of this bill may give some level of protection to Country Bluff homeowners. Certainly while our godsend, Kathy Stepp, continues in her role. No matter how the vote goes on this bill, I say to Alderman Schultz and Alderman Harkness, hands off of Director Amanda Ross in the Planning and Good Development Department.
Are there any other eligible speakers wishing to speak on this matter?
Gary Roman. This isn't about Dan Ruda. It's not about a developer's block. It's not about a settlement of a lawsuit. It's about a very simple concept. You hire a city administrator. let the city administrator, whoever it is, and you know I'm partial to Kathy Stepp, I'll admit that right out front, but any city administrator should be permitted to pick her own team. Your authority comes in firing the city administrator if you don't like her. But all the rest of this stuff, it's a simple matter. She's entitled to have the team she wants, and I said she in this case, but city administrator. It's worked well for 30 years. Now, if somebody was going to find it, I would have bet on the guy that found it. But it's worked fine for at least 38 years that I've lived here. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Any other eligible speakers wishing to comment? Any other aldermen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to clarify, Ms. Webster, that this bill does not allow us to fire these directors, so that is not an issue we are discussing. And also, I wanted to just tell you happy birthday. I know you have a birthday coming up this week, so I hope it's great.
Any other aldermen have any questions or comments? Alex?
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's important to circle back on one of the comments that was made, particularly the importance of not focusing on individuals. So individual names, individual issues, they matter, so don't take it that way. But as a legislative body, we've got to continue to challenge ourselves to pass bills that are going to stand the test of time and make good sense to reason according to the law. If we remove the person, it's going to help the bill stand over time. So I looked at this particular issue and said, how do we look at this and what makes good sense regardless of who's in the role? And so I think that's important when we're looking at legislation.
Okay, any other aldermen? Hearing none, then we're going to vote. Hillary, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Harkness?
No.
Lucas?
No.
Cooper?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Scholes?
No.
Williams?
Yes.
So the result of the vote is 3 yes, 3 no, which is a tie, and the mayor will vote to break a tie.
Alderman Williams, I agree with you many times, maybe the majority of the times, when we bring in personalities and individual names, it can influence how some people feel or how people vote. I'm a little surprised this ended up to be a 3-3 tie. But I'll tell you, I have to agree with Alderman Williams. I think that we surely need to rely on our city administrator to do the hiring. I've already felt that this board, in my opinion, is getting too wrapped up in the details of running a city. And I think this is just another area where some board members want to stay in the weeds. I am more of a visionary, and so I'm going to vote yes.
Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6711, an ordinance approving the intergovernmental agreement with City of Nixon, Missouri for memorandum of understanding for mutual aid agreement to authorize the chiefs of police for both Nixon and Branson to permit properly certified law enforcement officers to respond in emergency situations outside of their respective jurisdictional boundaries and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
So you've heard the first reading of Bill 6711. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We get a staff report from EJ. Hello, EJ.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the board. What this is this is an MOU basically providing mutual aid assistance, police mutual aid assistance from Nixa and Branson. They're entering into that for emergency purposes. And even though I am not Chief Schmidt, I am requesting a double read for.
Did you hear us spend that earlier?
I did, and it has been weighing on me, Your Honor.
Okay, are there any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Alex? I'm sorry, Glenn?
I just had the question, Nixa, great, no problem. Do we have similar agreements with other law enforcement agencies between Nixa and our geography, or is this the start of that, or can you?
It's the start of it. In the past, we have had with Springfield Police Department for.
EJ, I'm sorry, would you speak in the mic a little bit, please? Thank you.
In the past, we have had MOUs with Springfield Police Department, but those were for planned events like the old Branson cruise that we used to have. This is kind of the beginning of renewing that with areas.
Any other questions from the board? No questions on the board? Any questions or comments from eligible speakers? Hearing none, then we're going to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6711 for its final reading due to timing.
Even though Chief Schmidt is not present.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this? Any members of the audience wishing to speak to this? Hearing none, we're going to vote to approve a final vote. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6711, an ordinance approving the intergovernmental agreement with City of Nixa, Missouri for memorandum of understanding for mutual aid agreement to authorize the chiefs of police for both Nixa and Branson to permit properly certified law enforcement officers to respond in emergency situations outside of their respective jurisdictional boundaries and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
So you've heard the final reading of Bill 6711. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any members of the board wishing to speak?
I would just like to say thank you to our police department, Chief Schmidt, and everyone representing you tonight for keeping us safe. We've had some incidents in the area, and having this MOU in place really will provide more safety for our citizens. Thank you.
Any other members of the board? Any eligible speakers from the audience? Hearing none, it's the final vote. So, Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call, please?
Harkness?
Yes.
Lucas? Cooper?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Scholes?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
That concludes the Alderman agenda. So we're at the report section. Ashley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It has been a busy couple weeks. There's a few things that I'm especially excited to report. So we did get some school zone signs on Highway 165. We've got some brand new ones up. Very fast turnaround, probably the fastest one MoDOT has ever done. And it started with a concern that was brought by a school board member. So he brought it to Alex. Alex pivoted to me because it was my ward. And through collaboration with city staff and MoDOT, we were able to get those signs installed even before the students went to school. So it's a pretty big deal. I'm very proud of this one, and I'm grateful, obviously, to everybody who helped move it forward. Hiawatha Heights. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there is the high part of Cliff Drive that is in Ward 3. And it just happened to be a situation where, my two worlds collided a little bit. I went with a buyer to look at a house, because I sell houses, to look at a home in Hiawatha Heights. And it was cool because I got to watch those really bumpy, gross, hard to cringe to take your car over roads. They magically turn black and they turn smooth. And it was very nice. And so I just wanted to publicly thank our residents for the patience that they've had throughout that whole process. And then I want to thank, obviously, our road crews and for their diligent work, and our Public Works Department for the work that they're doing out there. I know there's more to go. I know road work isn't always fun while it's happening, but when you see that finished product, it sure is smooth. Try to throw a joke in there. Okay. Good Morning Branson. I had the opportunity to attend Good Morning Branson, and there was a lot for our community to celebrate. Hope Counseling was rightfully named Nonprofit of the Year. My friends at Chick-fil-A took home Small Business of the Year, and the city of Branson actually had a very special, proud moment as our Branson Police Department's very own Officer Caleb McCarty was named the 2026 Local Hero of the Year. That is a very big deal. Congratulations to all of our award recipients and nominees who continue to make Branson a really special place that we get to call home. I wanted to publicly welcome Chief Zaremba. I think he starts here pretty soon. And I wanted to publicly thank Chief Houston for the work that you've done, how you've stepped into that role, and how you've helped us navigate that whole process. Got to meet with Becky Blair, who is the marketing director for the Branson Landing. We talked through this legislation that we talked about earlier in our study session. I got to learn about the Branson Landing's operations, how it relates with the city, how to understand kind of the partnership, their history, the city's obligations, and I think that's all very important as we continue our partnership and making decisions about Branson's future. And then I got a crash course in city finances. So Allison and Chief of Staff Alex graciously gave me a crash course on our city finances. They did a great job. As we were heading into the budget season, I kept thinking, you know, how can I responsibly participate in making decisions about a multi-million-dollar city budget, a sports complex, things like that, if I don't actually fully understand where our revenues come from and where it goes and what is restricted and what is committed and what different tax brackets are and buckets. And so I was very grateful. So I asked about it, and we walked through all the city's major revenue sources, how different taxes and funds are structured, debt and other financial obligations, how these pieces ultimately come together in the budget process. So I know that I still have a lot to learn to fully understand it, but I believe part of serving responsibly is being willing to ask these questions, to do the homework before the decisions land in front of us. And finally, I want to close with prayers for the Henderson family. I know many of us are connected to that in different ways. My heart is with Colton. He's one of our Missouri State Highway Patrol troopers, with him and Haley's precious babies as they begin to navigate healing through this unimaginable and heartbreaking tragedy. The Hendersons are part of our communities. The loss of Haley is a loss felt by all of us. Please continue to surround Colton, their children, their family, and all those who loved Haley with prayer, love, and support in the days ahead. As always, thank you for trusting me with a seat at the table and a voice to advocate for our residents. Please do keep reaching out. Please keep asking questions and keep letting me know what you're seeing in Ward 3 and throughout Branson and how I can better serve you. Thank you.
Artie?
Well, I'd like to first start out by saying that Branson's entertainment district and the world lost a true sister today in Dolly Parton. And so her passing leaves a big void in that area. And somebody that wrote 3,000 songs and had 50 albums, you know, and was in the Hall of Fame for 2 different genres. You know, she was just a great lady, had an awesome sense of humor, and the only thing I didn't like about her was her waist was smaller than mine. But she was a great lady. Secondly, I'd like to follow up on what Ashley said with respect to the schools opening. I just am encouraging all of you to take that extra second and look. And kids can run out of anywhere, so just be cautious driving. They're precious to us. Lastly, I spent the last week in Kansas City. Had to go up, didn't have to. I wanted to go up for my grandson's 7th birthday party and learn some new jokes. Does anybody know what you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef. Okay. I also got to be a part of 3 different medical procedures on myself and on my back. And my granddaughter got to cheer with the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders. And so had a big week and enjoyed it, enjoyed getting to be with family, and I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Artie. Clay?
Well, I mentioned briefly during the study session that my wife and I toured the CAM facility a couple of days ago and got to visit with Michelle Dean, who runs that place. And what an organization. I mean, we've always give to and, supported throughout the years, but I really didn't understand what all they do and how they do it. It's just, it's really, of course, their first goal is feeding people that need to be fed, but it's so much more than that. Giving them direction, setting a path for them, better in their life. The whole thing is just, it's unbelievable. And the reason that we reached out to her is we had several of my employees that reached out to us wanting to volunteer time at different organizations. They just, felt like they wanted to be a part of something. So we reached out to half a dozen different organizations, and CAM was the first one to immediately reach back. And they do need a lot of volunteers. If you've ever been in that warehouse, it's really impressive what they do in the food bank that they have and how they get the food and how they keep the food clean and they wash the eggs, and it's spot on. So if anybody's looking for somewhere to volunteer, I would highly recommend reaching out to Michelle Dean at CAM because what they're doing is really good work. So thank you, Michelle, for having my wife and I out.
Thank you, Clay. Ruth?
Yes, I would just like to say thank you to our police department for their heavy presence at all the Branson schools. I sometimes take my grandkids and drop them off, and there's usually an officer outside watching all the kids. When I pick her up, same thing. And we are very blessed to have that in our school district. I've been on vacation for a while and went to tourism places in Utah, Nevada, and California. The one that really struck me is in Mariposa, California, that is off of Highway 49, the old 49ers, finding gold, and it's the main route to Yosemite. And I just really took a different look at it this time, went walking around. They only have one business, and it has been this way for a very long time, that is Starbucks. No other business, every other business is run locally. And they've been able to really survive because they have stuck with what they do and what they do best. And I pray that we do that with our city, to remember that we are tourism, and that's how we bring in our money. And we need to keep making sure that we have responsible growth, but that we do focus on bringing tourism dollars back, because if we don't, it's going to affect our entire city. And I'm looking forward to meeting with Becky for the Branson Landing. I have a lot of history with the Branson Landing. I was working here at the inception of it. So I will be meeting with her this week, looking forward to it, and we'll have a report when I'm at another meeting.
Thanks, Ruth. Glenn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I continue to participate in the Branson Art Trail group. Great group. It's an honor to be sitting at the table with so many dedicated, talented people that want to see this thing succeed. And today at their meeting, they voted to start forming the 501c3, which I think is great for them to be able to have an umbrella to operate this under. So you'll continue to hear great things from this organization over the next couple of months. But the first date where everybody in town gets a chance to see the beginnings of the project is at the Autumn Festival, the September 26th. It'll be at 11:15. There'll be an unveiling of the new logo, and they'll show the start of the Branson Art Trail that you can walk. So they're currently doing existing artwork, and the committee's already talking about how to commission new artwork for the city, how to work with the city in some of those aspects, and just make it another part of the great tourism we have here in Branson. So good things coming from that group, and I thank them all for their volunteer efforts. Another group of volunteers that's getting more and more active within the city is the Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT as it's often called. This group is under the auspices of the fire department, Chief Houston, and what they do is they are a trained group of volunteers that are ready to come into action in the event of any type of community emergency. And so they get trained in a wide variety of skills that is obviously a subset of what firefighters do, but some of the pertinent skills like advanced first aid training, trauma training, the psychology of those things, how to triage. We get into helping with crowd control, traffic control, those kinds of things. And the point of all this is they've got another training session that's open to the public. So if anybody'd like to see is volunteering for CERT, something that you might be interested in, you can come to some free training. It's coming up in September, and it's on the first weekend will be the 4th and 5th of September, and then the last session will be on the 12th of September. So it's a bit of a time commitment there. I believe there's a link up on the city website for that, but if you can't find it, just ask me, give me a call or email me, and I can point you in the right direction to get signed up for that. I went through the training. I've been through Red Cross training. I was a Red Cross instructor at one point, and all the training that you get in this class far exceeds that type of training. So I think it'll give you some real insight as to how we can help out our emergency responders when necessary, and how we can help out our community in general. So I'd encourage people to consider volunteering for CERT. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Glenn. Alex.
Thank you, Mayor. So my report has two parts. First part, I'll talk about the legislative priorities and how grateful I am that we're going through this process. When I was asking everybody to let me have the opportunity to become an alderman, I recognized that this is already an existing process at the city. I just asked myself, how can we continue to do that and add some other good things to that? I recall sending an email to staff on May 16th asking for this process to formally kick off. It was promptly responded to, a plan was put together, and we had a glide path that started with July the 14th. We've gone through that process. It's been highly effective. I'm grateful for it, and we still need more input, and that's okay because we want a good product ultimately besides just checking the box. With that, I look forward to continuing to look at each alderman's ward individually, collectively, and devising a list and coming back and reporting on our priorities at the state and local level, because that's just taking ownership. It's being specific, and it's letting people know, it's okay. Maybe we won't get all of them done, but maybe we'll get many of them done. And at the end of the day, we've been intentional, and we can provide specific results to community. We do it all the time. It's just formalizing the process. And so I just want to say thank you to the staff for taking the time to hear that request, put some structure to it. It's got bumps in the road, but that's okay because this is the first time it's been done in this way. And so, again, thank you for taking the time to hear that request. The other thing I wanted to share was the crosswalk. So again, Director Woods and team, I've been talking about a particular crosswalk in the city at Chick-fil-A and Dutch Bros, where you ask MoDOT if they have a flashing indicator. Their handbook says that the signs are not necessary. The state law yield to pedestrians and crosswalk. And you ask yourself, well, we're a tourism economy. I know I've heard Chief Schmidt say that he has to educate people every week on Missouri laws and traffic. So if I'm a law-abiding citizen and I see a sign that says state law yield to pedestrians and crosswalk, and it makes one person slow down, and it saves one person's life or prevents one injury, then that sign's well worth it. Director Woods had two choices. He could have heard the alderman rambling on about wanting a crosswalk and done nothing. He chose the latter. He went to MoDOT and asked them to make that happen. Their response was, we don't do that. He had another choice, accept it or keep working on it. He chose the latter again. And here we are. We got a crosswalk sign that says state law yield to pedestrians and crosswalk. That's just good government. And again, Alderman Hartness talked about an opportunity at one of my monthly town halls that I host. School board member talks about a concern, relay it to your colleagues, they relay it to staff, and here we are. So that's just encouraging. I'd rather focus on the positive. I know that this team up here cares about each other. We don't agree on everything, and that's okay. But I look forward to more opportunities to unite on fronts and work together as one one Branson, one team, one Branson is a mantra I've been floating by email to some of the folks here. So thank you again for letting me share about the things that are top of mind here at the end of the Alderman meeting.
Thank you, Alex. Kathy? You know, I think the only thing I would like to report on is the love that I receive from the community. There are many more things that we agree upon and very few things that there's a real disagreement about. And I continuously receive praise from residents and business leaders on all the things that they're grateful for in our community. Every community has issues. Every community has roadblocks. But it's just, I just want to share with you that I know when I'm in these meetings, it doesn't seem like there's maybe as much community engagement or community feelings of support of each other. But I just want to share my personal opinions of the interactions that I do get the opportunity to receive from the community. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Whoop, got ahead of myself. How about we move into closed executive session pursuant, Alex, you want to take this on?
Yes, sir. Your Honor, I move to go into closed executive session pursuant to 610.021.3 RSMO for personnel.
Have a second. Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call vote?
Harkness?
Yep.
Lucas? Yeah. Cooper?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Coles?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Board will now move into closed executive session and will return to the council chambers once executive session is over to adjourn the Board of Aldermen regular meeting.
just going to adjourn this meeting really quick.
Yes, no.
Okay, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Is there a quorum here? Yeah. Okay, so do I have a motion to adjourn this Board of Aldermen's meeting?
So moved.
Motion-
Second.
Motion second. Third, please vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Meeting's adjourned.